Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is the name of the teaching is this. You have entered into the language of which one of this. I hope it's got a wonderful weekend. It's happening to advance for sure. So thank you for joining me. And as you enter into the danger zone, after you see God's get ready for the ride here in the danger zone with Pastor R, the preacher Idris. This is a wonderful Monday, and this Monday we're going to talk about family matters. Family Matters Monday. There's a lot of dysfunction in our families, and especially the African American household is most definitely is divided. So I'm jumping into the danger zone to share a little wisdom and to expound on some things to show the world and those who may be listening in all 165 countries around the world. We need to know, because we have different families are in different situations, and people, especially children, are a product of their demographics. So we have a struggle going on here in this city and cities around the world. And so I would like for each of you to be kind, please share and be giving if you're led by the Holy Spirit, or if you just have a giving heart. Please look there at the bottom of the screen and please sow into the danger zone. And if you sow into the danger zone, you're sowing into Extreme Life Changers Ministry and everything that falls under the umbrella of Life Changers Outreach Ministries. So thank you for joining. And Family Matters Monday is something I just want to step into to build the family, to give some crucial information, some information that may build, that will help the family know, grow, and show in different areas of your life. And so I am Pastor R, the preaching Idris, and I am on to share some wisdom concerning family. And I know there's a lot of different situations that we're in, especially when it comes down to finances. And a lot of families aren't making it because they do not have the resources that it takes to run the family. And a lot of men, are not marrying simply because of that fact that they cannot provide. And here, probably after 30 minutes into the broadcast, if you're interested in coming on and sharing some of your expert tutelage when it comes down to family, just leave me a comment in the comment section and I will bring you in on the screen and you will be able to share. So make sure that you have a background that's conducive to mine, and we're going to jump on and we're going to empower and enlighten, and not just only give people a word from God, but we're going to give people information that will help them know, grow, and show. So I am the preaching share. Yes. Just don't take the wisdom. That's right. Know, grow, and show. Know, grow, and show. Know, grow, and show. We want people to grow in different areas of their lives where they will produce the promise, because we know that God, He is the God of the multiplication. So let me do a little um, testing here, and you all hold tight, and I will be right back. I will be right back. All right, I'm jumping back in here with you. This is Pastor R. Special Purchase Sunday Preaching Idris jumping back in here. All right, we're going to talk about family. We have so much going on in our families, and our families are so divided. And I'm not just talking about the African American family. We have families that that's deprived of a father and a mother, or both parents, and a lot of children are growing up without a healthy role model for a family, or demonstrating what God has given us in Genesis chapter 1, 2, and 3. And when we're talking about family, and when we're talking about dysfunction, we talk about brokenness. And if we don't have a healthy format or a healthy background, how can we be a healthy family, or how can our families reflect God, instead of having our young men out here in the streets doing everything that they can to make it in life, not having something passed on to them, a a occupation or a trade being passed down to them. Because in most healthy families that's doing well, you have the father, who is the patriarch of the family. He's the leader, he's the director. And most of the time, families who has a healthy father, most of the family follow the pattern of the father and the mother. And the mother receives instructions, you know, from her husband, who receives instructions from Yeshua and by way of the Holy Spirit. And that's how families are built and they're orchestrated. But as young people, as we grow up in a place where the demographics are producing dysfunction, that's what we pass on. Men promoting just sleeping with women for any old reason, and women are similar to the young men. And we're going to have to always realize this: women are a byproduct of the man. She's going to do what the man show her or teach her, and sometimes that brokenness is kind of shared among the demographics. So if a young lady does not have a father that embraces her, that loves her, that tells her that she's beautiful and give her compliments, she's going to look for whatever that she can compare to what love is. So if all she knows is someone being intimate with her, or giving her a feeling or an expression of what they say love is, that's what she's going to pick up on, and that's what she's going to roll with, on, into the future. And those are the things she's going to endeavor into in her life, not knowing that God is love. And so the reason why we have so much dysfunction in our communities around the world, not just the African American community, I believe that is affecting all communities on certain levels. Each community has a different type of dysfunction, but it is dysfunction. We have some communities who are struggling with their children, who are fighting drug addiction, and we have some communities where we have uh, people fighting prostitution and gang violence, and some people are facing, families that's broken, husbands and wives may be alcoholics or maybe, struggling to be healthy but don't have a clue of how to do it. And when someone comes along with the right types of wisdom, the right word that they can give to them to give an importation to help them grow from the position that they're in or they're failing to a position of succeeding, they're going to go against it because these people do not have that understanding or that revelation. So they're going to fight against it. So um, I'm speaking to the ELCC family and to those who are watching today, who are expecting to know, grow, and show in the areas of life that will help them come to a pinnacle in life where they will see, the prosperity and the purpose being fulfilled and the peace that they deserve as a family. So I just want everyone to know the family does not mean dependency. Just one just totally depending on a mother or a father, but learning from them and growing from that, starting point, or that's the the starting line as they go, as they grow and move, to being a teenager and on into adulthood. It don't mean dependency. I'm just totally dependent upon my mother or my father or a sibling. It's growing. It is a partnership where family comes together and they critique one another based on progression or producing the right things. And a lot of times in family, we don't want to be accountable, and we just, pitter patter around the truth. And there's some things that my wife and I talked about on this weekend about a certain comment Chris Rock made about how we don't hold our mothers and our fathers accountable for their shortcomings in life. But if you're a grown person, if you know the right way to do it, and if you know a right way to live, and you see your parents are going in a totally different direction than what God has ordained and called them to, and if you are a believer and if you know the truth, nothing wrong with critiquing them and giving them, some small chastisement in the area where you're respecting them as your parents. But children sometimes find themselves being disrespectful to their parents and really not helping the situation to become better. Because in my family, there were certain situations where we would say that our mother was always this way, but as our mother's children, we should have came together and made our mother a little bit more accountable, not just on how she was a parent to us, but we should have made our mother a little bit more accountable on how she was taking care of herself, because the body is the temple of God. It houses the Holy Spirit, and my mother, she drank and she smoked, but no one ever, chastised her and made her accountable for the neglecting of her body. And people may not call it neglect, but if you really love your mother, and if you are in a relationship with your mother or your father, and if you really love that person, you will tell them the truth in love. You will not just continue to go on through life and saying, dad has always been that way. He has always been an alcoholic. He has always came home, intoxicated, but he's a good man. Yeah, yeah. It's more. It takes more than being good in order to help our uh, family, our mothers and our fathers, to live a healthy, long life. Because God, Yahuwah, has called us to long life, and even if that's 70 years, 75 years, they deserve to live a healthy, long life. And each and every last one of us are in a family, and that family should have the foundation of partnership. not dependency. I shouldn't just totally depend, on my wife, and my wife shouldn't totally depend on me if we have children, especially when we have children living in our house. Our children should come together, even if they don't understand something, no matter what age they are. Children should learn how to live under the roof in your house in a healthy way, getting things done where, you know, it just won't fall on one person, the mother or the father. Because if we put everything on the mother, what is, if we put everything on the mother, what are the children going to be doing in the household? So we have to be careful when it comes down to family. Family, we are a partnership, and it's relevant only when both people are willing and they are going in the same direction. So in family, we must start, we must get our family to understand the direction that the family is going in. And I have seen it, not just in other families, I've seen it in my own family where children got disrespectful and jumped on the side of the grandparent instead of being on the side of their parents, because the grandparents were going along with what the child wanted instead of teaming up with the parents as coming together and having an alliance against the disobedience of the child, and making sure that that the rules of your that household was being respected and followed. And see, when we jump on the side of children, children are going to rebel not only against their parents, they're going to rebel against other authorities outside of the household, and these children are going to be unsuccessful in life. So, in family, we cannot get to the point that if we just say two sisters, when they disagree, they fall out to the point that they want to destroy one another. They hate um, each other more than they dislike the enemy that comes against their family. So when we talk about hate, hate is a bad and a mean word, because love is what controls the right spirit that's within us. And so when we talk about family, we talk about teamwork, and we talk about partnership. In our families, we must realize that the the dad, the father is the director of the family, and the the mother, she is the CEO, or the chief operating officer of the household. And and I know some families really don't, you know, have that right structure. They don't, understand because they don't know the word. And if it's not healthy, you can tell, because there is no growth there. There's no prosperity there. There is no unity in the household. And we're going to have to grab hold of our children, especially when it comes down to these electronic devices. We're going to have to give them a limited time on them, and they're also going to have to spend time in being educated in different areas of life, not just through social media. Children are going to have to pay attention to how the parents get along in the household. So the family, is a partnership. Uh, it's a partnership that you form in your household. The mother and the father make the rules of what goes on in the household, and how the family is going to do things according to God's word. You know, and sometimes I see children out in the marketplace being disrespectful to their parents right out in the open, and some parents just let it go simply because of the laws that we have here in our cities, in this country. But we're going to have to realize that when we provoke our children to wrath, that's going to be the result that we see. you know because sometimes when my wife and I, we pull up at the grocery store, or we out in the marketplace, we see someone They will pull up with all kinds of music playing in the vehicle, and the children are in the back seat. That's exposing your children to wrath. And so once your child cuss you or punch you or say something, disrespectful to you, people are going to have to realize you provoked that child to that wrath because you opened that door. And people really don't believe in guarding their children, because the word teaches us to guard heart, for out of it flows the issues of life. And if you and I expecting for our children to be great and successful in life, we're going to have to give them that protection that they need in order to be nurtured and to grow. Because think about it. Each and every day, our children grow up and they leave out of our house going into a school system that's run and operated by the government. And we have to think about the federal government that fund the schools are the same federal government that fund prisons, that houses those young people, that goes from high school to the penitentiary. And it's a system that we ignore it. And then we, as parents, those of us who say that we're righteous, this is a danger zone. I'm trying to tread lightly. But if we have children that's growing up in a society when we accept the government's help, you're going to have to guard your children, because no one told you to send your children to public schools. Public schools are for those who cannot afford to educate or to fund their children's own education. So they go out to what they call the public school. There is no law saying that your child has to go to the school down the street that's within your community. They don't have to go there. You send them there because it's a public school system. It's funded by the taxpayers, and the taxpayers give the money to the government, and government funds the schools. But you have to realize, if you don't pray over your child and you send your child out into that public arena every day, sending them into the mouth of the lion, you're going to have to guard your children. You're going to have to protect them by covering them with prayer, covering them with some positive. And most children, when they fight and when they're clowning in the school, they want to fight back. They want to hit back. They want to shoot back. They want to stab back. But why is it that we don't become educated enough to learn that our children do not have to go to a public school? And in some ways, if you need to know a little bit more on how to help your children, how to take them out of the mouth of the lion, bringing them out of that arena, you're going to have to connect with people who has that expert tutelage to give to you to protect your child. And Dr. Rich, she's my wife. I'm promoting her area of expertise. And if you don't know how to protect your child, if you want your child to survive, if you want your child to live, no matter what color your a child's skin is, no matter their demographics. I'm not just speaking to the African American community. I'm speaking to the American community who's trying to produce children who's going to run our government one day. But if our children do not have the right foundation that they need to run our city and to run our local governments, we're not going to have a healthy, judicial system. We're not going to have a healthy police system. We're not going to have a healthy criminal system, because they're going to be led more by the flesh than they is by the spirit that we should be teaching them how to tap into. And so a lot of these young people who has been killed and trampled down and killed in the streets, I'm not going to necessarily say it's the police fault, but it's our job as parents. I'm telling you, this is the danger zone. It is our job to protect our children and to give them what they need. You can't just let your child just go to the mall and hang out. You can't drop them off. You can't drop them off. You got to stop that. People want to just find a babysitter and they want the mall to babysit their children. You cannot just drop your child off and anybody can just come up and befriend your child who does not have the characteristics that you have worked so hard to put into your child. And these children are going to come along and they're going to expose your son, expose your daughter to the freedom of the devil, meaning give them that knowledge of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And we should be promoting that our children should not eat from it. But even though going out into the marketplace, places like the malls, meeting these different people with all of these tricks and these conniving ways that they give, you know, to our children. It's a download. And soon as your child or my child see that freedom that other children have, because they don't have parents. They don't have a father and a mother that will critique them or that will chastise them or will punish them or who will spank them. And these children are out there that our children that we're trying to put so much into and invest so much into are meeting. And they're giving them all of this false information. Okay, they're giving them blind optimism, and that's leading our children the wrong way. This text messaging, these different types of apps that our children are going on to, we're going to have to start protecting our children from that, because they don't have to have it. And people, I don't know what the problem is, but there's a reason we're giving our children cell phones at 6, 7, 8, years old. Why are you giving your child a cell phone, and when it's an eye into a world that will give your child or your son, your daughter information prematurely? And so if they see these things prematurely, people, your child will die spiritually early. I'm not talking about literally die in the physical, but they will die spiritually because they will have access to information you're not giving them. And so if they need the information, they're going to Google it. They're going to Google it. And then they're going to know, like, their eyes are going to be open like Adam and Eve did when they ate of the fruit of the garden. And so when you give your child a cell phone, they are eating of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that sits in the midst of your life, that God has told us, me, Adam, my wife, Eve, not to eat of. Why would you give your child poison by putting in their hand a weapon that not would not launch or fire a bullet, but it will fire different types of wickedness and evil into the life of your child? And you're going to have to think about this. When you got it in your hand, there's some things that you was curious about and you Googled it. Your child is no different than you. Children are curious and they want to know, like Adam and Eve wanted to know as God knew. And so when the enemy the serpent gave them the information that you won't really die, but your eyes will be open. You will know, like God knows, the difference between good and evil. And I'm gonna tell you, my wife and I, we have 6 daughters, and we never gave our children cell phones until we felt that they were old enough to handle cell phones. And we didn't go along with what was going on around us. We did not allow our daughters to date. And if there's any issue that our daughters may have in life, it didn't come from us. We did not provoke our children to wrath. So if our children are not succeeding in life, any of the 6, it's not because we did not give them what they needed. It's not that we did not chastise them. We did not tell them the difference between good and evil, right and wrong, love and hate, black and white. We gave our children what they needed. So if you're not doing what you need to do, and if your children are not succeeding in life, it's your fault. It's your fault as a parent. And I'm not necessarily saying that a daughter need a mother or a father need a son, because whenever we study and we go back to the word of God, Adam did not have a mother or a father. Eve did not have a mother or a father, but they learned. They learned from the words that came out of the mouth of God. And how do we learn? How do we know, grow, and show when we don't have the parents that other people have? You get into the word of God, find out what the word says that we should do in order to know, grow, and show in our areas of life, that we will protect our children, we bring up healthy offspring. And see, we make too many excuses. Well, I didn't get married, but if you have two kids by two different men. Don't have three kids by three different men. Close your legs. Make these men accountable. If a man said that he loves you, you're going to have to stop desiring to be a baby maker and start saying that you want to be a homemaker. And if this man is able to support you and to take care of you, but not only that, if he's willing and able to pray with you and your children, he's probably a good man. Every man should be willing to pray with the woman he says that God has sent into his life. But women are too easy and too readily to open their legs and to welcome a man to some pleasure that they have not earned and do not deserve. And then people are so caught up in the sexual part of relationship, I guess, because of the feeling. And you're gonna have to understand that it don't supposed to hurt. God did not create, sexual intercourse for pain or to not enjoy. He created the intimate, the sexual experience for married people to come together and to have that feeling along with producing a child. And it may be because of the sorrow and some of the sadness that the child may bring into the life of the parents as they grow older, but you don't have to experience that. You, we just have to protect our children from the enemy. We have to protect our children from the enemy. And there's one thing these grown people are going to have to do. We're going to have to stop trying to avoid accountability. Stop trying to shut people up when you know you off, you know you wrong. Get your life together. Get yourself together. Take the wisdom and the chastisement of, with with gratitude and with love, not feeling that someone is trying to destroy you because of words, but they're sharing with you the truth of the matter. And we have a lot of people out here talking about co-parenting. Co-parenting. That's a joke. That's a joke to me, because either you're going to be a healthy parent or you're going to be a dysfunctional parent. And some mothers out here feeling because they birthed a child in the world, they should raise the child. No, 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 no. I feel like if a person, have children outside of wedlock, whoever the best parent is, the best parent that can provide and protect that child, and that can give that child what it needs, that should be the person that's raising the child. And I know a lot of people may disagree with it. And I know that this secular thought is, I've been through some of this foolishness. And I'm telling you, if a person does not have the tools and the resources that God has given them to give to the child is going to be off. The child is going to be off base, and that child is going to pick sides. And the child is not going to have what it needs. And mothers, if you know you cannot give that child what it needs, even though that child came through your womb, allow that father to raise that child. And I guess a lot of mothers don't want to give up that monetary help that the dad gives to them, to take away that burden from him. See, some men just give child support or give money to take away the full responsibility of a wife and a child, to just put a band-aid over that wound, because it's never going to be right. Men are going to pay that child support. They're going to spend the first and the second or the third weekend out of the month with the child. The beginning of Father's, or the whole day Father's Day, half of the day Mother's Day, and half of the day Christmas. They split up the time. That's not how God designed it. That's not how God designed it. And I'm telling you, that may work for some people, but I'm telling you, there is nothing more greater than fulfilling the command that God placed on the life of the man and the woman. There's nothing like it. And I'm telling you, people can say what they want to say about me, but for as being a dad, I try my best, and I have made mistakes in life. But when I try to give people the tools that they need to be healthy and to be prosperous and to operate in life where they will grow, because whenever we claim to be the seed of Abraham, and I know that some of you all may know what I'm talking about, because if you go to a gas station or if you go to one of these clothing stores, if you're talking to the owner of the store and if they from a foreign country, the first thing the man would say is his name is Abraham. And then if he have a son, he's going to name his son Abraham. And some of these ladies, I don't know if you ever talked to people from the Middle East or Africa, Northwest or East Africa. These people call their wives Sarah and different things like that, because that's kind of identifying them and connecting them with the blessing. And there's nothing more that pleases God more is to raise our children as little gods and to reflect the image of God in the earth. And if we don't know by now, if you can't look around you and in your community and how we're going in our world to see that the enemy is after your child, I don't know what to tell you. The devil is after your seed. I mean, the devil kind of got a lot of us adults where he wants us at, because we have created a certain mindset, and we're happy where we are in life, and we're doing the things that we want to do, not the things that God has instructed us to do. This is what I'm saying. A lot of us are doing what we want to do. We're not doing what God has instructed us to do, because if we was doing what God has instructed us to do, we all will look similar. We all will talk similar. We all will, communicate on the level that we should communicate on as a tribe, but we don't. So people are doing what they want to do. We're not doing what God has instructed us to do, because when we go back to the word and when we start understanding that the calling that's on our lives, it's not just a calling to a ministry or to a church, but we have a great call on our lives to produce children that's going to reflect and to mirror Messiah. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, because long life should be the desire of our children, long life. And a lot of these children are dying before their parents. Why is that? Why is that? And the beginning of our day should not be, you know, the beginning of our day, we should not be focused when we start our day. We should not be totally focused on money when we get up in the morning time or when we start our week. Money is going to come to you. If you trust and you believe in God, Yahuwah, money will come. Because once you allow God to know your heart, he's going to strategically establish you, and he's going to place people in your life to bless you without a shadow of a doubt. Your need or your needs will be met. And see, God Yahuwah is our source. He's our source of all things that we desire in our life. And see, we make it so hard and we make it difficult for God to bless us because we keep doing us. I'm doing me. This right here make me happy. And once God Yahuwah open the door for you and he places into your life the resources and the money you need, then what? Once he give you the 6-figure income, then what? And I try to help people and to teach them how to be, 6-figure earners. But they don't want it. They don't want to get it because they don't want to sacrifice. And see, once we start saying it's not about me, but it's about my future, it's about my children, it's about what I can achieve with someone else, but the brokenness and the bamboozleness in life, the game shot, people not really trusting other people is what's causing us to miss that 6-figure income. Because think about it. If you make $45,000 to $50,000 and God send you a wife or God send you a husband and that person made $55,000 to $65,000, now you're making $100,000 earnings in your household a year. Now you are part of the middle class. But the devil will confuse people and make them feel that singleness is the right way. Oh, I don't want to deal with the problems of a man, or I don't want to deal with the problems of a woman. You're dealing with problems in life anyway. You're dealing with these unruly children that you're exposing to wrath. And then certain rap music shouldn't even be played in your household because it's not giving a downloaded and impartation of wisdom and understanding the knowledge of God to your children. If you hear, if these children are hearing things about, but all the time, getting this and getting that, they're going to think about it's talking about getting it in the wrong way. But if you hear wisdom and getting downloads that, they should believe by faith, they should trust God, they should honor their mother and their father. Just by honoring their mother and their father and sticking to the things that's right, children will grow. They will know, grow, and show in the areas of life that it will reflect you. See, everything we do, everything that I do, my children mirror that. So it's going to reflect who I was as a dad. So it's not rocket science. It's just that we're going to have to stop being so sexual. We're going to have to stop being so anxious for nothing. And then people feel that they have the time to waste. I'll make it up on the end. No, you was 15, you were 16, you were 18, you were 20, 22, you was 30, 34, 35, you was 50, now you 60, and then and all of a sudden we want to run to God old, feeble, and have no fight in us, and now saying, God, use us. We have no resources, we have no tools. As a family, we're gonna have to understand that it's a partnership. Even in friendship, that's family. Even in ministry, that's family. And we should never ever, discuss our personal issues with other people who are not supporting the dream or who's not in the fight with us to help us get to where we're trying to go, because it's a partnership, and it calls for reciprocity on all levels. On all levels. So my question, this is a life-changing question. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a life-changing question of the day. And my question is, what is a man? You can type it in the comment section what you think a man is. Then I'm going to share with you what a man is. So what is a man? Just type it in the comment section, and if you want to come on live, you can do that as well. It's just basically up to you. While I'm giving you time to think about it, We'll talk about Dr. Rich. Don't forget about Dr. Rich Candy Conversations. Don't forget about Dr. Rich Candy Conversation, because her Candy Conversation show is not exposed, but it's still in motion. Dr. Rich is not taking a hiatus. She's still working in different areas of her ministry. So continue to post the conversation, and as you sow a seed into the stream life changing, that's most definitely going to bless Dr. Rich in the area of her ministry where you can give the right guests in, those that can help you know, grow, and show, that can build, that can continue to give you the tools you need to make in your life. Because Camp Conversation is most definitely a 21st century ministry that's reaching the masses. So listen, don't forget about Candy Conversations. Continue to show, continue to bless us as we continue to reach the world. Sometimes one person at a time, but Extreme Life Changes is still the ministry that changes the lives of women, men, boys, and girls. That's right. So, all right, all right, all right. I'm back in the box. I am back in the box. Listen, what is a man? What is a man? I'm going to put it on the bottom of the screen. Since I see no one has commented, amen. I see Dr. Rich has commented. Thank you, Dr. Rich. This is a controversial issue topic, Pastor. Yes, it is a controversial topic, but if we want to know, grow, and show, but also bless our children, we're going to have to talk about it. Women are going to have to start coming together, meeting with other women. And that's right, Dr. Rich. Dr. Rich says in all things, right? We're going to have to start coming together. Ladies, you're going to have to start coming together and sitting at the feet of the elders, your scholars. You're going to have to start meeting. You're going to have to start meeting. And I know there's a lot of issues that may be going on, a lot of woman type attitudes, or but you're going to have to grab hold of that. You're going to have to grab hold of it and grab control of your mind and your spirit. We're not going to be on here all day, but I am most definitely going to do what I have to do to try to make sure that people are healthy. Black, white, Indian, Asian, no matter who you are on this planet, we all are created in the image of God, and the color of our skin and the texture of our hair and where we're born at, if it's on the continent or if it's in a country. Colonialism and all of those different things does not mean anything when it comes down to creating and building a healthy family. Healthy family. So my life-changing question today is, what is a man? What is a man? Dr. Rich said it does work for some. Amen. It does. And I don't really like to hear people complaining about, certain things in life, especially when it comes down to family. Because, first of all, that man and that woman, they first make the decision to deceive one another, to create a counterfeit love. And so, a man is the one who fashioned himself in God's image, and he see things as God sees it, and he does as God instructed him. A man will first of all obey God, and I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna show you right here in Scripture. And so don't hate it, and don't shoot the messenger. So what is a man? A man is one who created in the image of God. That's what a man is. And it reads that in Genesis chapter 1, verse 20. And it reads this: Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air. So God gave man dominion. So, first of all, a man is the one who reflects the image of God, Yahuwah, in the earth, and who takes control and dominion over his life and his situations. He takes accountability. He works. First of all, he looks like, and he create, and he try to have the attributes and the attitude that God had, the patience of God, because God had patience with this creation. And not only that God had patience, a man also has to be willing to critique and to punish his children, not beating them as they are a slave, but teaching them and punishing them, and being exactly how God created him to be. And God, Yahuwah, knew that the man did not need to be alone. So God created a man to have a wife. What is a man? A man will have a wife. He will not have a bachelor pad and have sexual partners, multiple sexual partners, because that may be what a man would call himself, because he can use his sexual parts, in the ways that he feels that he's great at it. But God created the man, number one, to be in his image, number two, to have dominion, number three, to have a wife. That's a man. A man is not a man that you will see 50, 40, 60 years old, still dating and having multiple girlfriends. That's not what a man is. A man is not the type of person that's dating someone, and on Valentine's Day, he's buying candy and clothing and shoes and all of the things that he feel that he need to do to please her. That's not a man. Just somebody who's doing something nice for someone that he like. And so a man is to what? Try to look like, be like, act like God, in the image of God. He's what? To be a director, or one. The man will be a director, and he will have dominion over his household. He will have a wife whom he will love and cherish all the days of his life. And sometimes men have more than one wife. They will divorce and they will remarry. That's cool. But a man would not continue his whole life having different types of sexual partners throughout his whole life, because that's not going to fulfill him. That's not going to give him what God called him to do. And God told the man after the fall that he will till the ground, and that's how he will, you know, earn his pay by the sweat of his brow. So God also called the man to work, to have a job. God called the man to have a job. So from A to Z, God want us to look like Him, to have the judgment that He has. He want us to have dominion. He want us to have a wife, and He want us to be obedient. That's what a man is. A God, to sum it up and to make a long story short, the man is to look like and to reflect what God says in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 20. And so our children is the most valuable asset that we have. And we have a lot of us who we have sons, and we put our sons off into sports. That's great. That's a great thing to do, especially when they're athletic. But when we guard them, we are protecting our interest in life, because our children is our joy. Our children should be our peace. Our children should be our everything, because God gave us our children as a gift. And the gift to us is a family, a healthy family that will know, grow, and show. And then we have siblings today who don't get along for whatever personal reason. So I just want to say this today for those of you who are listening. If you have siblings, brothers and sisters that you all are not getting along right now, for whatever civil dispute that you all may be having, forgive one another. Set up some time on your calendar where you will meet, every month or every 3 months for siblings, for sibling fellowship, where you all will feast and fellowship, and you will look back and you will reflect, and you will come together and talk about some things that you all need to do as the patriarchs and the matriarchs of your family, to be the next generation that's leading after your parents. And it's a great thing to be healthy, because when you see that healthy foundation in your family, you start seeing the blessings and the prosperity that God is doing for everybody straight across the board. And one other thing we must do, we must learn as grown people how to forgive our parents. And a lot of women, you have to forgive your mother. And a lot of women, they are struggling with that hurt and the anger from their mom. So you're going to have to call your mom or invite her out to dinner and forgive her. And she would say, well, what are you forgiving me for? Well, you're forgiving her for the offenses that you held in your heart for all of these years based on, the shortcomings in life, or for whatever disagreement or misunderstandings that you may uh, have had down through life with your mother. You have to forgive your mother. You have to forgive your father in order to move on and in order to grow. Because if you do not, you're going to operate in that anger. You're going to operate in that anger, and it's going to clog up that spiritual realm in your life, and you cannot get anything to flow through. You're going to have your stream and your life caught and or packed with something that's going to be bringing, you know, not the blessing but a hindrance into your life, and you're never going to grow, in certain areas. It's going to feel like that you're struggling with a vagabond spirit in the earth. And some anger restricts the blessings of God. And so family, family, siblings, you got to get together. And I know there's a lot of siblings out there are still angry with one another today. And the reason why you're angry at one another is because you never faced the fact that it was your mother and your father's hurt that you're struggling with today. The anger from your mom and your father. You got to forgive them. You got to forgive your dad. He was never there. Only God was there for Adam. You're going to have to forgive your mom if she was never there. Eve never had a mother. She was created from the rib of Adam, and she had to learn from God and her husband. That's why each woman need a covering. They got to get away from all of this, these sexual things. I mean, most of the time it turns me off from social media, Facebook and Instagram and these different things, because when I go on there, I see people, women, turning around with their asses toward the camera, well, their buttocks toward the camera, and their vaginas all cuffed with their tight clothing, and as if that's all life consists of. And then if all men has to see is this, why would they be holy? Why would they be good men if they feel like they have whores that they have to serve? If a man knew that the woman was good, he would become good. But if he's feeling that he don't have to be anything but something in the streets to please her, all he's going to get is sex from her instead of an investment, why would he be good? I mean, women, when you come onto social media, if you're not clothing yourself, adorning yourself with the proper attire, if you're trying to get attention, it's not going to get you a husband. That's not going to get you a husband. That's not going to get you insurance. That's not going to get you benefits from a man, because most men that's single and that's laying up with these women, some of them have good jobs. But if they just having sexual intercourse with you, how is that? How are you benefiting for a wing package? If that's what you're getting, a wing package, or you getting a dinner package every 2 weeks. You're going out to eat at an expensive restaurant. If he's paying $100 for a meal, he could be putting $500 into you all's checking account as husband and wife. And then if if the women is so fine at what they have their bodies to offer, why are they still in poverty? Why are you still struggling to pay all of your bills alone? Why is it that you only see him at night? Or why is it that you have to settle with a married man instead of a single man who's willing to love you and to treat you right and to be monogamous? And see, I feel like a lot of young ladies and a lot of brothers mess up when they're dating one another and they never pray with each other. And they spend more time in the bedroom than they spend on their knees praying to the Father for resources that will make them rich and will make them wealthy. And they get mad and they get angry when people don't invite them to the gathering of the rich and the famous, or what Dr. Rich said at her party. I think it has something. Dr. Rich, post that on the screen what you said about, the almost. I think she said the almost rich and famous. And see, when you're endeavoring into some things, I try to tell people all the time, about relationships and about the man falling in love with the spirit of the woman and the woman falling in love with the spirit of the man. But when they fall in love or get entangled with the flesh, it's all about how her butt is shaped, or how her figure is, or how her eyelashes or hairstyle is. It's not about that. And see, we can't get past the shell to see the heart of that person, simply because we're so entangled in the flesh. The flesh loses every time. When a man is not in love with the spirit of the woman, he cannot deal with the strains and the struggles in life, or the shortcomings that might happen in those relationships, like not upholding the obligations for the bills, or not being able to bring enough to the table to get the bills paid, or when a person falter on something or neglect their responsibility, and they have to call upon that man to help to bridge that gap. It won't be any anger there. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult to have a healthy family living in the world. Living in the world. So how can a wife that's always in the streets please her husband? And how can a single woman or a virgin become a man's wife if she's in the streets? But a virgin, a single woman, can get a husband if she obligate her time and her interest to the things of God and to the things of holiness and righteousness. If she commit her time to God, that's going to put her in line, being that diamond and being found, the diamond in the rough. So when a woman is lost in the word of God, is what Dr. Rich shared with me years ago. She said, when a woman is lost in the word of God, her husband will find her. And the reason I know it to be true, because these are the characteristics and the attributes she had as a single woman. She told me she was tired of doing certain things in life, so she just found a place in him and spent her time in him. And so, ladies, if you've been in several broken relationships and you just cannot, meet Mr. Right, and it seems like that every man you meet, you just throw your legs open to him, you're going to have to give your time and to God, Yahuwah, and to stay in the presence of his son, Yeshua. And the Spirit of God is not asking you for a sexual relationship, but he's asking for you a committed relationship, a dedicated relationship in prayer and fasting and seeking him. Because once a person learns that if they commit their ways to the Father, he will give them the desires of their heart. He will. But it's about being patient, being able to stand in your times of storm. And the only reason you know how sex feels is because you introduce yourself to it. You open yourself up to that spirit. So you can't blame anybody. Just like a drug user. Once he used drugs for the first time, just volunteer himself and put it in his nose or his mouth or in his veins. He did that to himself. Now he's addicted and he just cannot live without that expression or that experience. See, people have to realize, especially women, you did it to yourself. If you never would have went down that road, you would not be in the position you're in right now. The same as men. If you never would have went down that road, you would not have 5, 6, 7 kids or children by people that you wasn't ever expecting to spend your life with. You open that door up. So you know what? You're going to have to fix that by pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, getting yourself in line with what God has called and ordained for your life, and walk in it, activate it in your life to be a man and to be the man that God has called you to be. Okay. I'm getting ready to go off the air here. I'm getting ready to close, but I want to share. I want to share because in our families, we're going to have to start inviting chastisement. Yeah. Yeah. You want to dodge certain uncles and aunties? Why? You need to answer some questions. Why are y'all dating? If marriage isn't the goal, why are you dating? Okay. If marriage is the goal, why are you in the bed with one another? Is it just for fun? You're going to remain in poverty if the bedroom is the focus, because it's only a 3 or 4 minute experience, and it means nothing if you're not producing a family. It means nothing. It's just a waste of time. And see, that is where the devil gets us. He would make us feel that this is the coup de grace. This me giving myself to her or him makes me special to that person. But it's still a part of control. It's a using spirit. It's a demonic spirit that causes you not to win in life because you're wasting time and energy with something that does not produce marriage. Proverbs tells us this right here in chapter 1 of Proverbs. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instructions of wisdom, justice, judgment, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man or woman will hear and increase learning, and a man or woman of understanding will attain to wise counsel, to understanding or to understand a proverb and its mysteries, the words of the wise and their riddles. And so sometimes it seems like that we're just talking and just babbling off saying things. But if I give you wisdom on today, if I share with you instructions on how to grow and how to know and how to show in the world that your God is real, you're not struggling because you're not struggling because you don't have money. You're struggling because of your lack of opportunity. If you had the opportunity to do something different in your life, to be great, you will do it. But it's just a matter of fact. Without family, we're divided. Yeshua said that a house that's divided against itself cannot stand. It cannot stand. And so, because they call him, they say he's operating in the spirit of Beelzebub. He says, so if I'm operating in the spirit of Beelzebub, what spirit are you operating in? So he just questioned that. And so family is all we get. And if I come to your house or if I sit down with you and I tell you it's not cool to give your 7-year old a cell phone, you're going to feel in your heart that it's something to do without any resistance or without any shame, and you know what you do with cell phones and you know what they're capable of, but you still give that cell phone to your child. My question is, do you really love your child? Children do not need cell phones. Where they say, well, my daughter's a cheerleader, and so when she's out, my son, he plays football when he's out. If that be the case, why is it that your children have that cell phone all day long? If your child is going to use a cell phone when they leave from home with it, going to school, when you give it to them, when they walk through the door, they should give it back to you. If that's the case, I'm telling you, it may not be a big deal. It may not seem like it mean anything, but I'm telling you, those cell phones are a gateway into all types of evil and wickedness. And if you understand what I'm saying, and if you are a child of God, when you give that child that cell phone, they change. They take on a whole different persona. They take on a whole different spirit. And then once you say something to them, they they act out of anger when you take the phone from them. They're ready to fight you. They're ready to cuss you. Why? Because you said it was mine. You gave them ownership. You gave them your dominion. You never do that with a child. You always have that child to feel that they are a child on all levels. Give not children authority in your life and in your household, within your family. And see, we when we give them access to certain things that open doors in life prematurely, they die prematurely spiritually. Let me show you this right here. Getting close to my time. Let me show you this right here. God is so wise. He gave us this information hundreds of years ago. And your children desire to be wise like you. That's why they're Googling. They don't have the answer, so they Google. They know you're not going to tell them, so they Google it. Sex, SEX, they Google that on YouTube when you're not around. And guess what your children see? They see people having oral sex. They see people having anal sex. They see your children see 2 and 3 men on one woman. Your daughters see 2 or 3 women on one another. These are the things that your children see that the devil is exposing to them prematurely. That's why you're struggling with trying to get them to see and to understand right now. That's why they're making bad grades, because the devil, the enemy, has rooted some things within your children. But why is it so hard? It's amazing to me that people do not see this. Why can't you see why your child is misbehaving? I know you don't want to hear it, but oh well. I said it, and it's true. Yeah, people don't like me. It's not because they don't like me. They don't like me because they didn't like the Messiah. That's why they crucified him. All right, show you what. Sometimes the appearance can be a serpent. Sometimes the parents can be a serpent to their children. You could be the enemy because you're not protecting your child. Your child is like a little lamb. They they are weak. They don't know very much. But you never give your children a weapon to destroy themselves. That's what cell phones are. They have their good points, I guess, and they also have their bad points. This is what the Word of God is saying in Genesis chapter 3. It said, now the serpent, or the parents, was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, hath God indeed said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden. Yeah, you can use the cell phone when you go to school, but when you come home, you give it back to me. Similar to that. Yeah, you can use it. So God said that they may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. He said that, of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God said, ye shall not eat it, nor shall ye touch it, lest you die. Then the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So, so when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, like these cell phones are, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of it, or of the fruit of the tree, and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. And the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked. And they saw, and I'm sorry, so they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. And see, you would know when your child is exposed to something you did not teach them because they're going to want to hide themselves. They're going to be ashamed. And next thing you know, they're going to blame. It's because my mother raised me in holiness. It's the reason why I'm a hoe. Yep. My mama, my daddy, they never let me go out. They were strict on me. No, it's a hard issue. It's a hard issue. It's not a strictness issue because how can I and my wife be so hard on our children doing what God has called us to do in His Word to raise healthy children, make them corrupt in their hearts? It don't work that way. That's how I know it's a freaking lie. It don't work that way. It's a heart issue, and then it's a root issue. It's a ancestry issue. It's so much. It's just not about the parents not giving the children what they need. It's a heart issue. I'm telling you, it's a ancestry issue. Sometimes these children are getting these behaviors from that DNA that's in them. That's why we have to learn who these people are that we're laying down with, that we're producing children with. But if God allow you to have a child, do your best to build fences around your child, to keep the enemy out, to keep dysfunctional people out. Keep your sisters, your brothers, your cousins, your nephews, your mother, your father away from your child if they're not agreeing with what God has gave you to give to your children. Do not allow your child to go around a bunch of cussing and dysfunctional folk that you grew up with. Protect your child. If they want to say you're better, say, yes, I think I'm better. Yes, I think I'm better because I'm doing something a little bit different than what you're doing. And I'm not going to go back to where I come from. And a lot of people hide a lot of this abuse. A lot of this psychological abuse, and a lot of this physical abuse, a lot of this sexual abuse. And everybody want to talk about sexual abuse, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of abuse when you wake up and a person, cuss you from sun up to sundown, and you're not getting the things that you need based on them being selfish and wanting to fulfill their selfish desires as parents. It's wrong. It's neglect. It's neglect. And then and these young people are growing up, surviving, making it through, and they end up in life not being able to trust a man or a woman, not being able to give them their heart, not being able to give them the trust, or to receive it from someone else because they've been damaged so bad, those 18, 19 years of life living in a home where people then pray, and it's a sad indictment upon mothers who do not pray for their daughters. It's a sad indictment when mothers and fathers do not pray with their sons and their daughters. And then whenever you see a child or anybody in your house eating before they pray, smack the food out of their hands because God provided that food. It's a sad indictment that we're allowing our children to die in the streets at the hands of the enemy. We're just sending them out, and we're just actually sticking them into the mouth of the lion, and they're destroying them, devouring our children, simply because we fail to protect them. Sometimes I see a guy out, and I know he's the father of certain children that's not with the mother anymore. And I see the shoes that he wears, the pants that he's wearing, how groomed up he is. But when I saw his son had no shoes. His son looked like he was an orphan, but he has a father who's not upholding the responsibilities of his son. That's a sad indictment as a father. Mothers who sit up in salons every weekend doing things that they want to do, and their children with other people. And it's a sad indictment upon the mother that you will drop your children off anywhere. You created them children. It's your responsibility to stay with those children. And if you don't have someone that you hire and that you know who's qualified to do what you do for your children, don't leave them alone with people. That's why your children hurt. And if your daughter are left alone with someone that has hurt her, or who has hurt him, they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you, especially when they're confused about the feeling, because sexual gratification is something that calls people to 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 shame, and it gives a certain level of pleasure, or some type of interest of pleasure, but they are confused in the pleasure between a husband and a wife, because we have grown people out here. They have sex every weekend with people simply because of the pleasure, and they don't even care about what God said. They don't care about a man upholding the responsibilities to a woman, as Genesis chapter 3 says. They care nothing about that, but they're operating in poverty and stress, and they're not being blessed, and they're wondering, why am I not growing? Because you're neglecting the word of God. If you are a single woman without a husband, your father is your covering. And if your father is dead, and if you don't have a pastor, Yeshua is your covering. That's your protection. Sex never got a woman a husband. Sex never got a man a wife. Obedience and love is the fulfillment of the law. And some people are not redeemed from the curse of the law because they're too busy giving in to the flesh. The flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. And then I feel that after a person have had sexual intercourse with one or two people, they should understand what it's about. But having children by multiple men can put people in poverty, women rather, families into poverty. Because if one man have a baby by a young lady and he leaves, and then she have sexual intercourse with another man and she gets pregnant by that man, have a baby, and he leaves, and then she gets pregnant by another man and he leaves, and pregnant by another man and he leaves, and she have four husbands, and neither of them gave her his last name but put seed in her. That's going to bring that person down to poverty. That's going to give that woman a brokenness within her spirit. That's going to kill the fight within her. She's going to feel that she's worthless and useless, and she cannot get a man, and God is not real, and God is not in her life. That is what that's going to do for that woman. That's going to break her spirit. Now she's dealing with four different children, with four different types of roots, that has four different types of DNA, that's going to have four different types of attitudes, and all of them are dealing with four different types of curses that springs from the DNA and the ancestry. Now she's trying to fight something. She has no clue of what she's fighting. And you have one man, you have six kids by this one man. This husband and wife have six kids with one another. They're going to be able to understand one another's side, and they're going to be able to see their characteristics and their attributes, and their parents' attributes and their characteristics within those six children, and they're going to understand what they're battling and what they're fighting against in the spirit, because those children are products of them too. You know, not six or not five, but two. And it's easier to relate with what I grew up with based on my dad and my mom. If I grew up from a child to an adult, I've seen a little bit of my daddy's character, and I have seen a little bit of my mom's character, and you're going to see a little bit of that character in each of those six children. You're going to see some of that, so you're going to know what you're struggling and battling against. But if you have four kids by four different men, and you only spent like a week or two in a relationship with them, and you never knew each one of these men's mothers and fathers, you're going to have something to battle with. And you're going to have to be equipped, and you have to know spiritual warfare, because I'm telling you, you're going to be dealing with the spirit. You may grow up, your middle son may go to the school and set stuff on fire, or all of a sudden he's the type of kid that hit people in the head and take their things from them. And then you have your first child never talks, you know, always to himself, or herself, and have some kind of spirit of depression that she's battling with. Now you have four different children, four different types of character, with four different types of life unforeseen issues. That's why it's good to have a wife. That's why it's good to have a husband, because it's the order of God. That's God's order for the life of the man. It's nothing. People say, well, they base their experience on having a husband on the experience of not having one, but based on what they have seen and what other people have said. But if they never had a husband or walked with godly women and godly men who are married, who has more than 5 or 10 years of marriage, and who has something that's concerning marriage in a godly manner to give a download or importation to, and all they ever see is dysfunction, brokenness, homongeriness, and sexual intercourse, and husbands being, or men saying that they're husbands, but worldly men being unfaithful. This is giving them the idea of what marriage is. It's not true, because you have to talk to men and women who truly love one another and God. People don't have to be broke. People don't have to be broken. Women don't have to be broken. Men don't have to be broken because they come from broken families. You don't. You don't have to be poor because you come from a poor family. You don't have to struggle with the lack of education because you come from a family that's not educated. You don't have to be that. God has promised you, and he has placed in his word, that he said that his son came into the world that we may have a blessed life. We may enjoy the abundance of life. See, but you have to be willing to sacrifice, to say, no, I'm different. I want a husband. You got to be able to say that. You have to be able to say that. You have to say, I'm different. I want a wife. You have to say that. You have to walk in that. You have to believe that. My wife told me this right here. Dr. C. Denise Richardson told me this right here. She said to me, when I got tired and when I looked at my life, I just didn't want to be a part of another statistic saying that I'm somebody's baby's mama. My wife said that she got tired. She committed her ways to the Father and the Son. Now, she pursued the things of God. She said she took upon herself to be a missionary. God showed her in the spirit that there are some things that she could do for the elderly and the widows and the orphans. And she walked in that. She operated in that. You don't have to see, as a woman of faith and a woman who is desiring to receive anything from God, must be willing to give God her time and her undivided attention. You have to spend more time in God, ladies. I mean, regardless of what the people are doing. I'm talking about if you are a lady or a man who's looking for a change, you have to understand what Dr. Rich just said on the bottom of the screen just a second ago. Covenant. You have a covenant with God first, and then once you obey God and he open doors and create those opportunities and get your life to how he has fashioned it, he's going to give you a family, and then you're going to have a covenant with your family, a covenant with your wife and your sons and your daughters. And then now you have to be, the priest and the patriarch of your household. You're gonna have to be the prayer warrior, the one who orchestrate and organize and endeavor into those things. Listen, I'm Pastor R, the preacher teacher. My time is up. I'm gonna uh, I'm gonna get out of here. Maybe we can extend um, this broadcast as we continue to grow our audience. And I'm Pastor R, and I pray that God, by way of the Holy Spirit, will touch your heart. You will sow into our ministry. The cash app is down at the bottom of our screen. And if you are desiring to sow a seed by money order or check, I'm going to give you that information right here. Just hold tight. I'm going to give you that information. And I pray that God will continue to bless you through the danger zone. Even though it said danger zone, I'm not going to be so dogmatic that people cannot understand, because you want to give people room to know, grow, and show in the areas of their lives, that they need help in. Because we all need a support system. We all need to be a part of a team that's winning. A team that's winning. And everybody, listen to me, everybody needs a pastor. So pray about a ministry that you can connect with and be a part of. We all need a ministry home, every last one of us. And if it's on Saturday or Sunday, you're going to have to get yourself in a word based ministry. I'm getting ready to put. All right. I'm getting ready to put our ministry information at the bottom of the screen if you want to send a check or a money order. Because some people are not really key on Cash App, so just give me a minute. I'm gonna put the information on the bottom of the screen. All right. Type in myself. I thank you all for joining me on today. I pray something was said or done to further your knowledge in the Messiah. Not only that, just expose you to some new stuff. You don't have to be, so afraid to be honest. Tell your mother and your father in the spirit of love, how you want to be treated. They shouldn't be cussing you out anyway. And some people just rude. Some people are just rude. And sometimes parents think because they brought you to the world, they can say whatever they want to say to you. That's not true. That's not true. They should respect you as an adult, you know. And if they're not talking to their bosses and other people like that, they shouldn't talk to you like that. Respect is disrespect, no matter who it comes from. It's not right to disrespect your grown children. It's all right. Love is key. Why? No growing show. No. Why? Because love is the fulfillment of the law. There you go. You got it. Love is the fulfillment of the law. No man can fulfill the law. Only Yeshua, Jesus, can fulfill the law. Yeshua said, love is the fulfillment of the law. That's right. Right. So if you want to, let's see. All right, y'all. Here I go. Let me do something real quick. All right. I'm doing this as I go because I wasn't planning on doing this, but I am being led to do so because I want people to be blessed. All right, here we go. All right. So I see that they have very much participation now. Dr. Rich, thank you for sharing. Yes, great points. All right. Let's see. So share our telecast with friends and family and folk. We will appreciate it. I was hoping someone would have called in, came on live to help me share my family because I know each of us have different situations that we can bring, you know, to the table to share about, especially if there are personal life experiences. Okay, please send all checks and money orders to Life Changers Outreach Ministry, P.O. Box 16141, Memphis, Tennessee 3818614. I will appreciate it. I will appreciate it. Our ministry will appreciate it because we are most definitely on the move for the Father, doing His will in the earth. That's right. Remember what the word says: to whom much is given, much is required. I'm gonna work these last few minutes to finish up some stuff here. All right, I'm gonna give everybody a few minutes who may jump in and read the bottom of the screen. Thank you for joining us. Shalom.